Hi guys, Rowan Eagles here. Listen, I haven't seen you for a very long time. I haven't done videos for a year or two. I know it's been an absolutely incredibly long time, but I wanted to start maybe just creeping in a bit and start giving a few more videos from time to time. And with this one, it's been on my mind for a long time. It's called The Power of the Tweak. Now, I know that sounds like a strange thing, the power of the tweak. It's not like a bird cheeping, tweak, 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 or anything like that, but it's an understanding that a small adjustment sometimes in our lives, in any area of our lives sometimes, a small adjustment can make a big difference. And the way that I want to explain this is because it really became apparent to me when I learned a few things, especially through when I was being trained to be a life coach and also business coaching and things like that. And also just with maturity and getting older and through my own experiences and things, I discovered that there's actually a lot of things that we can fix in our lives in different areas of our life where it just needs a tiny tweak and it just fixes the whole thing up. And what I mean from a saying tweak, this is what we say in Australia anyway, that just means a very small adjustment, an adjustment to something, not a big change. It's not like you have to abandon the whole situation. If you're, scared of public speaking, or if you're scared of confrontations, or if you're scared of approaching certain people, sometimes we just have to approach things differently, and we can do it, and we just achieve and overcome a situation. And I think even in the Bible, Jesus spoke a lot of the different ways, small adjustments of how to approach situations to solve the situation, how to resolve things. And the analogy I want to give is, especially for you oldies like myself, is when we used to tune the radios in. Before it all went digital and everything like that, where you just push in the number, you just push the button and it's straight onto the radio channel of your choice. It used to be you had to dial it in and be on the exact right spot for the frequency to be crystal clear. And if you weren't on the right spot, it would be all static, go and you couldn't hear it. And if you thought that, that's the best I can get, you almost feel like, well, it's not worth listening to. I just want to throw my radio out. But as you know, all we had to do is tweak it a little bit and you'd come right up to the exact spot the dial is supposed to be on, and it'd be crystal clear, and it would be beautiful music. You could hear the presenter talking clearly, and there was no need to throw the radio out. And sometimes if you went too far, it'd go crystal clear and then off the other side. So that's the concept we're talking about here, right? Just about adjusting, making the concept of just doing a little adjustment that repairs everything, that makes it worth listening to. The radio station, it's perfectly in tune now. I don't have to throw the radio out. It's not really not working. It was just a small adjustment that was required. And in other parts of our life, in many parts, it seems to be like that. Now, the one, say, through that I learnt the most, one big one anyway, I've learnt lots of them, and we probably all have, and you'll probably know what I'm talking about. But one of the main ones, when I was being trained to, years ago to when I was dabbling in coaching and being coached myself and with personal development and things like that, one of the things that was pointed out to me was, because sometimes my wife and I would be talking and I don't know what she's talking about. And it might be heated, it might be emotions and things like that. And I didn't know what she was talking about. And I was thinking she was coming from a a certain direction, but she wasn't. So it didn't make sense into how I perceived what she was saying. I was saying, "Why are you going on about this? I really don't know what you're talking about." And it was hard to even make heads or tails of it. But what I learnt was a little tweak, and a little tweak was listening and validating. And that was just really listen to my wife, really listen to what she was saying, and even ask questions. What do you mean by this? And just adjust and really absorb, and then validating, even repeating back what she said in my own words, so she knew that I understood. And that little tweak just fixed this whole thing of me not being able to understand and know what she was saying, sometimes. And now that's just comes naturally to me. I made that little tweak in just learning to listen and validating, and I do that with other people as well. I just make sure that I listen to exactly what they're saying and what they really mean, even if they're not using the best way of saying it, even if they're not choosing the best words or something. I might just have to ask a clarifying question or something like that, and make a little adjustment, and suddenly it all becomes clear, crystal clear, and I don't have to abandon the conversation, or I don't have to abandon the situation. Now that's sort of how I've sort of learnt this, but as I look at this little adjustment idea of just tweaking the approach, or tweaking, making some kind of little adjustment to the situations, I've seen that you can solve big things. And if we can just take this into our lives in many different ways, you can solve many problems which you originally thought you have to abandon. Like I don't get on with that person. I just cannot relate to that person. But if you find where you just got to tweak, where you just got to change a little bit, and then it solves the whole problem. I'm just thinking of now when sometimes people are very dominant and very direct, and then we're trying to dance around their directness and trying to communicate to them, they can't be bothered listening to us because they're direct, and we're maybe beating around the bush, and they get fed up with trying to listen to what we're trying to say. But what another little tweak with that is, if someone's being really direct to you and they're a strong personality and very dominant, another tweak is if you be dominant and direct back to them, they seem to just understand what you're talking about all of a sudden, and they're not impatient. And there's another example of a little tweak with dominant people. So the power of the tweak I've discovered to be really, really powerful. And I've just got a few other things jotted down here. Won't go on for too long. I've talked about the listening one, and we don't need to abandon the whole situation. We don't need to throw the radio out. Clarifying questions, or it might be just slowing down in our speech. Sometimes especially me, I can talk too fast, and sometimes I might interrupt people when they're talking, and they're very common and they're very big things. And if we learn the tweak of don't interrupt, and then they won't be fed up with trying to talk to you. If we just tweak that a little bit and just back off and really listen, then the conversation flows and it goes a lot better. And you get what I mean, just the power of the tweak. And even though this doesn't sound like maybe a biblical discussion, it's skills, and you do see these things in the scriptures actually, but they're not really obvious. Now, even when we look into, say, the scriptures, sometimes we might understand a certain area of scripture a certain way because we think, the Bible says it, that's what it says. And it really does say that. And sometimes we think, well, it definitely says that, but how come I can't apply that into my life? It might be that we're not understanding what it's saying right. It might be that we don't understand the context of what is written down there, when it was actually really said and what it was applied to. Sometimes a tweak might be just not disbelieving what it says and throwing the baby out with the bathwater, like throwing the whole Bible out, throwing God out, like I don't want to believe anymore, so it doesn't make sense. Sometimes these tweaks is just looking at what it says and just understanding what it's really saying, because most of it's not the surface understanding we think it is, especially in the English language. When we look behind the English language and look into the Greek or the Hebrew of what the original words meant, it can mean something totally different to what we think it means. And so that's a tweak also, just tweaking our understanding and being accurate with what it's really saying. And then it makes things clearer, and then we don't have to abandon, I don't have to abandon the Bible, I don't have to abandon God, I don't have to abandon there's contradictions. Just a small tweak can just clear everything up. You get what I'm saying there. So I just wanted to express this, make a short video on the power of the tweak, and just see if you can apply that into your life. Just tune that radio a little bit and get it right on the right frequency. And then no need to throw the radio out. Maybe slow down in your speech, listen a bit more, ask a clarifying question. Just find out where the tweak is and make that small adjustment in these areas of your life that you might be struggling in. And then sometimes you can find that it just fixes the whole situation up. And it's like a miracle. I fixed this whole situation up just by a small adjustment in an area that I was struggling with. So remember that, guys, the power of the tweak.